let's look at what the next 12, 24 months is going to look like and how the world and Europe specifically will look in 2028.
Dan, can I just, because I've been very negative, right, on all of that. Can I just wrap up with a couple more positive things on?
Are you going to upside us? Upside us, baby.
I'm going to upside you on a couple of areas. One is, I think the Germans have really started to get it right in the context of defense. You know, it's helped. They actually have money with the, you know,
it's just inertia, right? A lot of what we're talking about, I get the rate of change and that, but a lot of that is PR from the Yanks. A lot of that is, we're going to spend $1 gazillion on a lot of that doesn't happen. So I don't want to conflate the PR from the American machine with the reality. I think that's quite dangerous to do, but crack on.
No, there's that. And then I would say also, you look at things like what happened with Proxima Fusion, which has gone from basically a pre-seed startup to a $2.5 billion company with like actual like off-take or interesting arrangements with the German government in terms of like a future customer. Like that's pretty unheard of, and that's pretty cool. And if that happened, like if that was magnified or multiplied 10 times across the continent, then that would be pretty awesome. So there are glimmers of hope.
There is a lot of money and there is a lot of emotional money, and we can sense it in conversations that we're having. Not only is there a lot of new funds, new structures coming in across Europe and a lot of change thinking, but there is a real drive across the continent to go, all right, we're going to do it now. And I feel, to your point, Andrew, there is a little bit, not war footing might be a bit strong, but there is a little bit of an FU footing. And I think that's going to carry. It's just a period of time. So let's do it. Let's talk about the next 2 years and companies, themes, topics. We can pick up on whatever we want. I'll start with my I've picked out 3. We in our docket that obviously, you know, listeners and viewers can't see, we've got maybe 15 line items of things that we could choose from that we thought were going to change from, you know, market prices, specific companies, sectors, spaces, governments, whatever it might be. I've picked on Bitcoin, Apple and Google and SpaceX, just to pick 3. And I'm going to ask each of you to pick your sectors, spaces, things that you think are going to change for the better or for the worse, globally and for Europe over the next 2 years. So I reckon Bitcoin's on its way to 0. I don't think it will hit 0. I think there will always be the believers and the hodlers in there. But I think it's going to become structurally irrelevant. And I think by 28, it's going to be sub 20K. And that's probably the level we're going to bounce around at, where people are going to be looking for some kind of utility. But I reckon that's going to be happening relatively quickly by 28. I reckon, and I know you guys are going to punch me in the face for this one, but I reckon Apple and Google are going to win AI. Now, what do I mean by win AI? Because that's a very big statement. But I think they're going to show really strong lines by 28 of leading the AI war, if you want to call it that. Apple will absolutely own personal on device. I've been using the latest iOS 27 Siri, and I know at one point over the last 2 years, I've banged on it too much, but it is now at promise. Siri is now fulfilling the brand promise of being an incredibly useful assistant on my device. Is it still clumsy? Yes, it really is. But it does incredible sequencing. It offers incredible insight across all the apps. Well, not the third party so much, but they're going to come. And I think they're going to own it. And I think they're going to become the gateway for everyone else as well. So Apple is going to own that gateway to the world for AI on the personal side. And I think Google's going to do the same on the enterprise. I think with their distribution, they're going to watch whatever's going on, and thank you very much for all of the insight, but they still own the mega chunk of distribution. And I think they're going to win it. Not Microsoft. I think they're going to be doing Clippy and Copilot awfulness and continue to do that. I think Google are going to crush it. SpaceX, I think, will halve by Christmas, but bounce to list price by this time in 2028. I think they're not going to hit any of their sexy, cool things in their prospectus, but I do believe they're going to become critical sovereign infrastructure. I don't know what that will mean when there's a Democrat as the president in the US. I don't know how Elon is going to fit into that picture. That's going to be a really interesting grab your popcorn time. But I think SpaceX is going to absolutely take a bomb and then come back to being really critical sovereign infrastructure. So they were my 3. Mads, did you want to go next?
Do any of your predictions, by any chance, have got anything to do with the fact that you love Apple and hate Bitcoin and hate Elon Musk?
Yes.
Okay.
I have to project.
Dan causes run on Bitcoin market. Tomorrow's headline.
I have to project. I remember losing to say, Trump isn't going to win the last one. I remember losing 100 quid to you, Mads, because you're like, nah, Trump's going to do it. I'm like, absolutely not. Project. I have to emotionally own this because I can't cope with a lot of this shit. Anyway, Mads, over to you.
Okay. Well, we talked about pensions. We talked about the lack of capital. I think that in 2 years' time, it'll still be less than 2% of allocated to venture. Now, the thing, it is just going to be too much inertia, and it'll be too hard for them to figure out how to do it at a bigger scale. AGI, we said there'll be no AGI in 2026. I think that's certainly been right so far. 2028, I would say we are frighteningly close to some really, really smart models. Fable is scarily intelligent.
Unreasonably. I cannot believe. I mean, I'm so sad we're going to lose it in a couple of days, but I think I'm going to tune in anyway. But when I ask it to do things and whatever they are, it will often say, I don't think you meant that, Dan. I think you meant this. I think this is a smarter way of doing that. I'm like, oh my, I'm so sorry. Yes, you're absolutely right. It's unreasonably smart. It's such a scary gift.
Right. And we're only 3.5 years into this. I mean, this is going to go so much further, and it still accelerates. It's exciting. And that's one of the reasons why I thought it's kind of the two bets, right? Anthropic and OpenAI, where they're going to sit 2 years from now. And I would say Anthropic feels like a fairly safe bet. It's going to be above the bill. OpenAI, I honestly don't know. I saw Sam, he was out with a tweet this morning saying, look, I know we had a bit of a shit show over the last year. The next year is going to be great, and here's why. And he outlined some of the stuff they've been doing and some of the stuff they're working on.
Did you buy it?
Listen, he's a phenomenal founder and entrepreneur. He's got incredible technology, and he's right at the center of the most exciting and biggest tech revolution in history. So do I buy that there could be an interesting business? Absolutely. But there are pitfalls. So I honestly don't know which way it's going to go.
But it's great there's competition, right? It's great. I mean, maybe Mira Marathi and the thinking, but maybe there's other things that will come through. Who knows? But it's great that there's this. I mean, 5.6 and Fable, I think there's not that much different. I don't know enough, but it feels like there's this constant competitive tension, which is wonderful.
Yes, agreed.
Anything else on your list, Mads, before we move on?
Let's do it in the round. Let's hear what others are.
Lomax, what would you pick up on? What's your take for the next two?
I got two that I'm kind of happy to pin my colours on, and then I had about two or three that I thought about that actually I don't really believe. So the ones that I'm happy to pin my colours to the mast on, which I know, Dan, you firmly do not believe, is that 2028 smart glasses are going to start to become a real thing. Right. So
absolutely not.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick my neck out. They will start to become the form factor of the future. There will be.
But hang on, Lomax, contextualize that. Where? For general compute, for everyday personal use? Contextualize it for us.
I think I'm very reluctant to go into. I don't know how it will play out, but I know that at the moment none of us here are wearing smart glasses. But I'm pretty sure in two years' time, all of us will be. Right.
On this pod?
Yes.
As in we will be wearing them, recording this podcast?
Probably, yeah, because they'll double up as our normal glasses. Well, I guess you two of you don't wear glasses, but yes. Well, okay, either on the pod or just which is just
all right
off it. And I think a bunch of our friends will have them. I think that it's a combination of the technology's improving, right? And there's still a lot of work going on behind the scenes at Meta to develop this. So that's my pretty firm prediction that I'm happy to stick by and die and live and die by. The other one is quantum, and it's a difficult one because Andrew and I have a pretty good horse in the race here. But I think we're going through
the winning horse in the race, buddy.
Sorry,
we've got the winning horse in the race.
Oh, there you go, sell your book, baby.
But I'm now gonna I think quantum's got a winter in it is the problem, and it's not due to it's not because I don't believe in the category. I feel like when you look at the valuations of the public companies now, with IonQ at 25 billion, Quantinuum at 20 billion, D-Wave at 10 billion, in the private market, PsiQuantum, I think at 10 or 12 billion. None of these companies obviously have any real proper revenue. They still have a lot of major technical milestones to cross. So I do feel that there will be a rotation out of it, which will make, Rigetti is now at 10 billion. And don't forget, we went through a quantum winter where D-Wave got recapped, Rigetti got recapped 5-6 years ago. I fear that we're going to go through another one again, which I really don't like, but it's probably going to happen in the next 24 months.
So what's the prediction for 28 in quantum?
Oh, just like, well, the listed stocks are down at the floor, basically.
Okay, so we're wintering. 28 is going to be quantum winter.
We're in the middle of winter. The things that I thought about that actually I'm not going to pin my. I thought the resilience trade might start to unwind. I think that might happen if the Democrats get in, but that won't happen until late 28, beginning of 29, right? So I think that's a separate one. And I was sort of thinking, are all the vertical AI companies going to get crushed by Anthropic? You know, the Lagoras, the Harveys. I'm not necessarily sure that's the case. The ones backed by good founders that have already got reputations and brands and customers, I think there's still more to play out in that arena. So I'm not going to
really.
Yeah,
I think legal tech is going to take a battering.
No, I'm not talking about legal tech. I'm talking about like vertical AI companies, what you would call wrapper companies or something.
Yeah, okay. No, I was totally wrong. I didn't think the whole wrapper side would last that long, and I was absolutely wrong.
And Andrew, I think elements will still persist. I think Anthropic need that, and I think if they've built, particularly in regulated markets, if those companies have built positions of trust and they haven't totally fucked up overspent and overhired, there's a chance that they're still going to be real businesses come 24 months.
I wonder if there'll be like a Dolby stamp, like a powered by on the Anthropic on the vertical side. So they have their own apps. They're obviously building the foundationals, and they start doing partnerships with all the verticals. I wonder. Andrew, what would you pick up on?
Well, I'll take the quantum. I agree with Lomax. Slightly different perspective, which is I think there will be a shakeout in the quantum computing industry. I think there'll be a handful of companies release technology which demonstrates proof they can scale towards utility. And quantum utility, as a reminder, just means actually a quantum computer that can do something useful, because all of them are pretty academic at the moment. And I think many of the startups we've seen will struggle to prove the same. I think they'll come under, a lot of the startups that have been funded will come under great pressure to demonstrate that their technology, you can draw a line from their technology to solve the problems to get to quantum stability. So I think there'll be a bit of a shakeout will start happening. Mentioned earlier, tech is foreign policy. I don't think that's going away. The global economy is sort of splitting into competing technology blocks. And I think in 2028, the question as much will be not just who's the best technology, but whose technology is it? Like, where is it coming from? Lomax mentioned the power law, and I think, by 28, at least one of the biggest LLM money eaters may be in serious trouble. I think it'll be really interesting to see how these companies are able to continue to fund and power, both from a funding point of view, but from also an electrical power point of view, the demand. So we might see that actually the most valuable commodity might not be, oil or even data. It might be electricity, and every AI strategy for these companies ultimately becomes an energy strategy. And then finally, one of my favorite topics, but I think it is so important. I think that Europe and specifically the UK will sort of finally really internalize that strategic dependence on the US isn't a strategy, and that will feed into two particularly obvious areas. Well, three really. One, defense. Obviously, we're already seeing that. The second is that we'll recognize, hopefully, that Mistral alone in Europe isn't enough. We need another player.
You've always been a big proponent of that, haven't you?
Yeah, 100%. And I think also Europe will wake up, thirdly, belatedly, to how important space launch and access to space is.
How do we solve that one?
If you look at the number of launches in 2025, the US was, I think it was around 180 orbital launches. The whole of Europe managed 8. So, and I think just in terms of mass, that's about I think it was 2,500 tons of stuff into orbit. Europe did 140. In simple terms, that's a launch in the US every 2 days. SpaceX is going to soon get down to every day. Europe manages, if it's lucky, every 2 months. Ariane 6 is quite a successful vehicle, but sort of old school in its approach. And European Space Agency by 2027 is targeted 10 launches a year. So it's an improvement, but it's still tiny compared with the US capacity.
It also does depend what you're spitting up there, right?
Say again?
It does depend what you're spitting up there. I mean, if you look at, Falcon Heavy is spitting up Starlinks and stuff, but I mean, it's serving itself. I mean, SpaceX is serving itself.
But
so I don't know how you compare I don't know how you compare on the actual payload.
Because space is going to become more and more for everything from defense to indeed, internet access to communications to sensing, and in future to manufacturing. Lomax mentioned, the proliferation of new bio companies, and that there's a huge growth area in manufacturing for drugs in space. So,
do you buy into space data centers, Andrew?
I'm not an expert, but I suspect the problems will be solved that need to be solved. And guess what? Guess who's going to win? It's going to be who can get that stuff up there cheapest.
But that doesn't take into account the context of whether they're required in the first place. There is an assumption that this level of compute is required, and the cost and the function of space is a smart, efficient way of doing it, which I personally don't buy into just yet. But I'm happy to have my mind changed.
At a macro level you believe that the space economy and access to space is sort of an existential need, and I think it is.
You do.
The satellites also don't last forever. Like all the satellites that are up there, and they need replacing. They have a half-life. They have a shelf life.
Yeah.
So the US is going to be very, very busy putting its own stuff up there.
Well, I mean, I think Elon's he's just gone to the regulators to put up another 11,000, but it at much larger than the 2 tons that the existing Starlink boxes are. I think they're like 5 or 8 tons. So therefore, he needs Starship to do that, and he hasn't got Starship yet. But this is going to be mega stuff.